Hi, my name is Vanessa Costanzo, and this is Managing a Multi-Generational Workforce for AutoEnter Live. So a little bit about me. I am the Vice President of Operations at Naviq. We design and develop custom business solutions utilizing our Naviq P2S platform. And our company was founded in 1994 as Recruiting Pro software and was a leading data management provider for collegiate athletic programs. We now partner with businesses in a variety of industries and geographies to help solve business problems and increase profitability and efficiencies. So I'm also a lead facilitator at WIT-FM, which is Women Innovating Together. We work in the Claris community to increase diversity and have more representation in our developer community and as well as the non-developer community. And I'll be talking a little bit about some WIT-FM initiatives later on in this presentation. And you can also visit our booth area as well. And lastly, not only do I work in a multi-generational workplace, but I also work with my dad, and we are members of the Wisconsin Family Business Center, where I sit on the advisory board. And that has kind of piqued my interest in this topic, and it's been a topic we've talked a lot about within our different groups at the Family Business Center, but also just something that we've talked about a lot as we've looked at our succession planning and looked at from different generational perspectives. That's really intrigued me in this topic and caused me to do a bit more research. So this was originally, I kind of wanted to do this as a panel, and talk to different people within the Claris community, but kind of with the 25-minute time frame and just format, I've decided to kind of do a brief overview here today of what is the multi-generational workforce and why should we be talking about it? Why should we be thinking about it? What are the challenges, the benefits, and a few tips and takeaways and some resources for you to take home with you today. So if we do have more interest in this topic, we would love to do a virtual meetup through WIT-FM and have this be a little bit more interactive, maybe bring in some panelists. So at the end of the session, please let me know if you're interested in this and this is something we can look at a little bit more in depth. So the landscape, as I mentioned, we're talking about multi-generational workforce. So what is that? It is at the very core, having people from different generations working in the same workplace or same organization. Why is this becoming such a buzzword and important topic? Partially because there are increasing lifespans. So more people are choosing to work past when was previously thought as the typical retirement age, whether that's a decision made out of necessity for financial purposes, or because people are just enjoying their work and the purpose that it gives them. This is becoming more and more of an issue. We are actually seeing 5 active generations in the workforce for the first time in modern history. And there was a 2020 World Economic Forum, I believe AARP and OECD study that found that investing in multi-generational workforces will raise GDP per capita by about 19% in the next 3 decades. So it's also a very important economic topic as well. So I mentioned those 5 generations that are currently in the workforce. Some people define a few of the generations a little differently, specifically X, Y, and Z. But for the most part, today we're going to go with the Pew Research Center definitions, and that's the silent generation, people born between 1925 and 1945, the baby boomers, which are 1946 to 64, Generation X, which is 1965 to 1980, Generation Y, or the millennials, 1981 to 1996, and Generation Z, 1997 to 2020. So many people, journalists, researchers, kind of recognize the challenges that the multi-generational workforce presents, but pretty firmly believe that the benefits greatly outweigh any challenges. But there has been a lot of talk about how employers haven't really embraced or leveraged these benefits organizationally. There was another 2020 study that Deloitte did that's you can find in the resources section at the end, and that said 70% of organizations said that leading multi-generational workforces is an important or very important part of their success over the next 12 to 18 months after the survey. But only 10% felt that they were actually ready to address the trend. So there's this huge gap in people seeing the importance of this, but also not really feeling ready. So let's kind of dive in a little bit into what some of those challenges are and why people might not feel ready. So the first big one here are the stereotypes. So there are stereotypes of each generation, and they're not always negative. Some of the stereotypes that we've seen with the silent generation are that they're loyal and traditional. The baby boomers can be said to be collaborative but adverse to change. A stereotype of Generation X could be that they're independent, bleak outlook. And then Generation Y are the millennials. People see them as driven but entitled. And then Generation Z, a main stereotype of that generation is that they're progressive but disloyal. We could take a lot of time to really dig into where those stereotypes come from, but the important part here is that we acknowledge that there are stereotypes. And how that impacts how we see our coworkers and the people that we're working with, and even our clients as well. Another challenge is differences in communication styles and preferences. So whether that has to do with the immediacy of feedback that different generations are expecting, or how they're expecting to receive feedback, the language that they are expecting to use or that they would use in business, and the method of communication that they're looking for. So whether that's maybe a more formal letter or memo versus an email versus a Slack message, different generations can have different preferences and different styles. Also, kind of then when you look at communication, you look at how does the communication of each of the generations mesh with your overall organization's brand, style, and communication, and coming up with maybe some guidelines to make sure that that's consistent can sometimes be a challenge. But the important thing to remember here when we think about communication, how that can be a challenge, is that most generations, really what they want is clarity and conciseness. So they might have differences in how they process the communication or information that they're being given and how they respond to it. But at the end of the day, most people are really looking for those two things, those same things. Another challenge can kind of be our unconscious bias. So also stemming from those stereotypes we talked about, and that can present a problem for organizations if it's not addressed. And then different expectations. So expectations of the employer, expectations of each other, but specifically when we look at expectations of the employer, there are definitely challenges in different expectations and benefits, compensation, work environment throughout across the different generations. But although there are some challenges, there are so many benefits, many more benefits that outweigh those challenges. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, many employers haven't really embraced and leveraged the benefits across their organization and systematically. So let's kind of dive into those a little bit here. So a couple of the benefits that we can see, I've kind of tried to group them here a little bit, are the different perspectives and opportunity for collaboration that we have when we have multiple generations working in one organization. So whether that is making sure that your teams are inclusive of people from different generations and different departments, kind of those cross-functional teams, and that fresh innovation and ideas, but also having the wisdom and experience coming together in one place is really powerful and can really lead to some really cool and innovative ideas. Another important one is mentorship. So, and that includes reverse mentorship. So one of the things that's really interesting to look at is how can we pair people across different generations to kind of not only just have a mentor and a mentee, but a really collaborative mentorship relationship where both people can be mentoring the other on different skill sets. And then also just kind of the benefits of those personal relationships outside of your own generation, for within work and then outside of work as well. And then another one is that stronger and larger talent pipeline. So if you're looking at multiple generations, when you're looking to hire or expand your team, you're opening up that door to people with maybe different skill sets, or just numbers wise, more people. There was a US Bureau of Labor Statistics study that said approximately 25% of the workforce will be 55 or over in 2024, which is up from 11% just in 2000. So we're seeing these multiple generations coming together is providing a lot more opportunity when we're looking to hire. And when it comes also to succession planning, so not only within family businesses, but within any business, when you're looking at planning for your next manager or leadership role, you can have these people that are coming alongside your more entry-level employees. They're able to kind of build that relationship through those mentorship programs, and you're able to make sure that you have a good plan for your team moving forward and your business moving forward. And lastly, you just have a greater diversity in skills, outlook, experiences when you have these people that are coming from different generations and different past experiences coming together and working together on a team. So, kind of what are our big tips and takeaways? The biggest one is don't forget the commonalities. So most people want to be engaged in their work. They want to be compensated fairly. They want to be happy and respected in their workplace. And typically, if they're all coming to your company and they're all wanting to work with you, there's some common value or common mission. So the important thing is not to forget that and not to let those biases get in our way. But kind of getting into the nitty gritty here of how we do that is how can we attract talent across generations? So it's really important to kind of eliminate age bias when recruiting. So if you're able to do blind screening on either resumes or your applications, that can be really helpful in making sure that those unconscious bias aren't getting in your way or aren't kind of slipping up. And then kind of where you're finding talent, so that you're not just looking at college job fairs when filling entry-level positions. I know one of the things that Diversitable, who partners with Wood FM in their mentorship program, focuses on is those people that are switching careers. So you're either whether you're starting a new career or switching careers, it's important to be open to those people and to find not just those entry level kids right out of college. And then another thing is to really be aware of the language that you're using, whether that's in your job ads or in interview feedback, and that you're really making sure that you are using inclusive language and avoiding terms or phrases that kind of target particular generation. So digital native is one that has kind of been flagged a lot in the HR world, as far as just targeting that younger, maybe Gen X, Y, Z age group. High energy is another one that gets flagged a lot, or GPA of 3 point whatever and above. That can really signal that, hey, we're only looking for people of this certain age that would be applicable. Another one that they talk about is that using overqualified when you're giving feedback for an interview can kind of be a flag for ageism as well. So those are some important ones when you're looking at attracting talent. And then once you have gotten those people on board, what's the next one? So looking at benefits, there is a great resource in the resources section from the Society of HR Management. They have a benefits resources page, and it really looks at what are some of the important things for different generations as far as looking at benefits, and what are the ways that you can be creative in offering benefits that are attractive to all of your employees, because you want to make sure you're investing in the things that are most important to your employees. And a big one, even across generations, is that flexibility in hours and location. And COVID has changed this a lot. I think we can all acknowledge, and many of us are lucky to be in industries where this is possible to some degree to have that flexibility. But varied or flexible schedules have really been found to allow caregivers, whether it's caregivers of children or older or other family members, to remain in the workplace. Another thing that they've seen is that flexibility in hours and location can really help with a phased in approach to retirement. So as we mentioned, there people are living longer and they're either choosing to or need to work later into life than they had previously. And so this flexibility can really allow people to kind of take that part-time approach into retirement, start to enjoy their retirement, but still contribute to these companies with the wealth of experience that they have. And lastly, or next, communication. So whether that's communication style, so making sure that you are communicating in multiple ways so that you are reaching all of your employees is important, but also kind of just your communication channels. So making sure that you have channels that are going to reach everyone as well. And another big part of communication is that feedback we talked about. So not just providing feedback to employees, but also getting feedback from your employees. What do they really want and value? Don't guess. That's a big one when it comes to benefits, is just making sure you're getting that feedback from them so that you're providing the most value for them and that they are going to look for. And then lastly, training. So not just training for unconscious bias and to combat bias and stereotypes, but also creating learning opportunities. So it's not just your entry level people that want to learn more and further their careers, people at all areas and phases of their career want to learn new skills or develop better leadership skills or learn cool new tricks, tools. And so finding the ways to provide that to them, opportunities for this. It doesn't always have to be formal. That kind of knowledge sharing across roles and positions and generations can be really important. So whether that's mentorship, reverse mentorship, where maybe your Gen Xers or Gen Z are teaching the newest social media tool to some of the baby boomers, and the baby boomers are teaching them some of the soft skills or leadership skills or just kind of the things that they've learned in their industry. And you can kind of have this information sharing, and that will really help that mentorship relationship solidify. And speaking of mentorship, another shout out for WIT-FM and Diversitable. Diversitable has a great mentorship program that looks at all sorts of different skills. And if you're interested, please reach out, check out their website. And I would highly recommend getting involved in that. Whether you want to get involved as a mentor or mentee, there is opportunities for both. And I know they are looking for mentors right now so that they can pair up the people that are looking for that mentorship opportunity. So that is kind of the very high level overview, but would love to dive into this more in kind of more of a panel or live discussion format with people to hear what you have to say about what you've seen to work in your organizations. And with that, I will leave you with quite a few resources. So I mentioned the Society for Human Resource Management, SHRM. They have amazing content, articles, blogs, resources for a variety of topics, but specifically when it comes to kind of ageism and age bias and the multi-generational workforce. So there are some resources from them. In 2017, I believe it was, they actually did an entire kind of summit on this, and there is a great kind of executive summary overview from that here as well as the benefits resources that I referenced. Another group of resources that I think is really interesting and was really helpful, and as we were going through this, was Harvard Business Review, so HBR, Forbes, and Pew Research. There's some interesting articles and studies you can find there. And then the studies I mentioned from Deloitte and the World Economic Forum, as well as the Academy to Innovate HR, they had some great resources on their website and some very practical tips and tricks for making sure that this is something that your leadership team can focus on and can work on as we move into the next decade. And then a few other kind of more resources here as well. So these should all be linked in a PDF. And that is it. Thank you so much. I hope to talk to more of you after this session and to continue this conversation. Have a great day.